بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. For the next 3 sessions, inshallah, we'll be discussing how to preserve the spirituality that we've tried to maintain and the spirituality that has accumulated, inshallah, during the holy month, how to preserve this during the year. And when it comes to the practical matters in this regard, we shall speak more about this in the 3rd session. In the 3rd day, inshallah, we'll discuss more practical points. But before that, we'll go through 1 or 2 theoretical matters, especially in relation to a very important hadith which can act as a guide for us. Now, the month of Ramadan, there are actions which are essential to the spirit of the holy month and be maintained throughout the year, such as fasting, but the Sharia has assigned certain days of the month for fasting, or reading the Quran throughout the year. These things were very essential features in the holy month. We have to construct a program for throughout the year where the fasting, both the outer and the inner limbs, fasting, how that has to be maintained. Reciting the Quran is another important pivotal feature of the holy month, and we have to plan a Quranic program of reciting and understanding the Quran throughout the year. And finally, the month of Ramadan is located within a 40-day spiritual retreat, which begins on the 27th of Sha'ban and ends on the 7th of Shawwal. This is a 40-day period, and fasting was ordained for 40 days, and then it was shortened to 30 days, which is throughout the holy month of Ramadan. But anyway, 40 days has specific adab and etiquettes associated with it, and inshallah we can maintain these etiquettes other 40-day periods. For example, on the 1st of Dhul Qa'dah, which is the first day of the 11th month in the Islamic lunar calendar, that would be the next 40-day period of the Tariqah in the Islamic calendar. And that 40-day period ends with another Eid, the Eid in the month of Dhul Hijjah. So there are many, and then after that, a brief into Muharram and Safar, and so on and so forth. So throughout the Islamic calendar, there are many 40-day spiritual retreats. And these retreats common adab and etiquettes. We shall speak more about this, inshallah, on the 3rd day. But there's one hadith, and it's the hadith of Unwan Basri. And this is of significance for people who want to adapt and want to organize a program of spiritual wayfaring. And here, in order to have some idea or a start or as a guide on how to maintain their spiritual wayfaring, where to start, and what practical applications one can incorporate, I thought this hadith, although I won't go through it line after line, but it has a lot of delicate points that inshallah we'll try and explore and open up. So the hadith is from Unwan Basri, who is in his 90s, 90 odd years of age, and he he says that كنت أختلف إلى مالك ibn Anas سنين, that I used to visit Unwan, that I used to visit frequently for many years. I would see and visit Malik ibn Anas. Malik ibn Anas is the head of the one of the four jurisprudential school of thoughts amongst the Sunni denomination. And he was the son of Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik was a companion of the Holy Messenger. And it's reported that for the last 10 years of the life of the Holy Messenger in Medina, Anas was there, and he had been given and had received from the Holy Messenger over 2,000 traditions and ahadith. He did have a caliber of status amongst the companions. And he lived a long life, and Malik is one of his sons. Unwan Basri used to see Malik on a frequent basis in Medina and would benefit from his knowledge. However, فلما قدم جعفر الصادق عليه السلام المدينة, but when Imam Sadiq alayhi salam to Medina, maybe it was after being called to Baghdad by the ruling dynasty at that time, on his return to Medina from Baghdad, اختلفت إلي وأحببت أن آخذ عند عنه كما أخذت عن مالك. Unwan is saying this, that when Imam Sadiq alayhi salam came to Medina, I then visited him, and I wanted to benefit from Imam Sadiq and knowledge-wise in the same way I benefited from Malik. Now, this is a very key statement. It's very important. We'll come back to this as we progress. But remember this statement. When Imam Sadiq came to Medina, I visited him and I wanted to benefit from him like I benefited from Malik. So he went to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and asked to benefit from his presence. And then فَقَالَ لِي يَوْمًا, Imam Sadiq one day replied to him saying, إِنِّي رَجُلٌ مَطْلُوب وَمَعَ ذَلِكَ لِي أوراد في كل ساعة من آناء الليل والنهار فلا تشغلني عن وردي وخذ عن مالك واختلف إلي كما كنت تختلف إلي. Then one day when he goes to Imam Sadiq to ask Imam Sadiq to teach him and be a mentor for him and to provide a way of spiritual wayfaring, of divine proximity to Allah. And this shows that Unwan was not satiated with the teachings of Malik ibn Anas. Malik ibn Anas would narrate many of the traditions his father had narrated from the Holy Messenger, and there were over 2,000 of them. However, it shows that Unwan was looking for more depth, more spiritual proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One day, Imam Sadiq replied to him and said, I am someone who is sought after, meaning of the ruling dynasty, they are after me. They are controlling my residence. It's dangerous for people to approach me. So he said, I'm sought after. And then, so that's one reason that since the spies were controlling his residence, he was saying that it's better not to approach me. Another he gave, in addition to that, was Imam Sadiq said, I have a very strict program of supplication and invocations throughout the day and throughout the night. Don't occupy my time in relation to these invocations. And then Imam ended by telling Unwan that you take from Malik and continue visiting him as you used to visit him. Remember when Unwan said that I wanted to benefit from Imam Sadiq like I benefited from Malik? Here Imam Sadiq is saying, you go and benefit, continue. I don't come to me for these one or two reasons, although these one or two reasons were on the facade. The real reasons are to be um, uh, manifested, to be disclosed. There was something concealed here. But Imam Sadiq said to Unwan, you go and benefit from Malik as you used to benefit from Malik. Then فَقَتَمْتُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. Then Unwan said that I became disappointed. I became very sorry and disappointed. Yes, yes, yes. This disappointment, he, after what Imam Sadiq had told him, he became disappointed. وَخَرَجْتُ مِنْ عِنْدِهِ. And he exited the presence of Imam Sadiq in a state of sorrow and disappointment. وَقُلْتُ فِي نَفْسِي. And I said to myself, لو تفرس في خيرا لما زجرني عن الاختلاف إلي والأخذ عن. One said to himself, disappointment, that if the Imam had identified or if he had found the smallest of virtues in me, he wouldn't have distanced me from himself, visiting him and benefiting from him. So the disappointment was he felt that maybe Imam Sadiq saw nothing of virtue in all. And so in this state of disappointment, he left. Now, here, what is happening behind the curtains is a different story. And the story actually starts here because the beginning of spiritual wayfaring, there has to be a disappointment. One has to feel a kind of sorrow in that I want to reach proximity with Allah, but I am being denied it. Although naturally, if you're drowned in the worldly life, you'll never feel such sorrow. And that's why when you're drowned in the worldly life, the search for spiritual wayfaring and acquiring spiritual proximity to Allah will never even arise within your mind. Here, Imam Sadiq disappointed him, and this was a test. Becoming disappointed is the first positive sign in one's spiritual wayfaring. So he became disappointed, and now he has to prove himself after facing a negative response from Imam Sadiq. He has to prove his khulus, his sincerity, and he has to prove his truthfulness in relation to the Imam. This is a very important point here. It's like someone, there are two teachers, for example, in Qom. There are two teachers. You're being taught by one. You know the second is more learned. You go to the second who is more learned. Now, the more learned one knows that you are also visiting the less learned. So very politely, the more learned teacher will say, go away, there's no need, I don't have time. Because you don't understand who you have. You're comparing the Imam with Malik. These two are two different fields, two different statuses. It's like comparing Allah with other than Allah. The Imam is a manifestation of Allah's attributes. It's like searching knowledge from other than Allah. This is the gravity of the situation. Now, either Unwan will get to realize this, or he may not ever realize this. In Qom, this is a very common feature. People, all their years in studying in Qom, they're going to the wrong teachers, and they will benefit only a minimum, if that. So here, Unwan becomes disappointed when rejected by the more superior person, because he knows he's more superior, but he still hasn't acknowledged the truth, the reality of Imam Sadiq. So, in a state of disappointment, now he continues. There's a lot of background noise. If you can just lessen the background noise, I will appreciate it. I can't focus too much. Yes. Okay. Then Unwan continues and says that فَدَخَلْتُ مَسْجِدَ الرَّسُولِ. So he was disappointed first, then he entered the holy mosque of the Prophet in Medina. وَسَلَّمْتُ عَلَيْهِ, and I gave my salams to the Holy Messenger. ثُمَّ رَجَعْتُ مِنَ الْغَدِ. So he went to the mosque of the Holy Messenger, he did his ziyarah, he gave his salams to the Prophet, and he left. The next day, he also returned to the mosque of the Holy Messenger, إِلَى الرَّوْضَةِ, in the segment of the mosque which is Rawda, which is the heavenly section of the mosque. وَصَلَّيْتُ فِيهَا رَكْعَتَيْنِ, I prayed a 2-unit prayer in the Rawda. وَقُلْتُ, then I said, Unwan is saying this, I said, أَسْأَلُكَ يَا Allah, Ya Allah, أَن تَعْتِفَ عَلَيَّ قَلْبَ جَعْفَرَ, that, oh Allah, I'm asking to the heart of Ja'far to open up towards me. Oh Allah, I ask you so that the heart of Ja'far opens up an affinity towards me. وَتَرْزُقَنِي مِنْ إِلْمِهِ مَهْتَدِي بِهِ إِلَى صِرَاطِكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ, and for you to provide me sustenance, O Allah, from the knowledge of Ja'far, so that I be guided by it towards Siratik al-Mustaqim, towards your true path, your straight path. So the first stage was being disappointed. The second stage of spiritual wayfaring is doing tawassul, going to Holy Messenger. Any seeker of truth has to undergo this journey. And here he went to the Holy and did tawassul and asked the Holy Messenger. Because we believe the Holy Messenger, when he was in his physical form and after his physical death, in his barzakhi, and his immaterial forms of existence, they manifest all of Allah's attributes. And so they're still alive. And it's like asking Allah, because they are nothing but manifestations of Allah's attributes. وَرَجَعْتُ إِلَى دَارِي. Then I returned to my house, مُغْتَمًّا, in a state of disappointment. وَلَمْ أَخْتَلِفْ مالك ibn Anas, and stopped visiting Malik ibn Anas. This is the third stage. After disappointment, after being disappointed, and after going to do tawassul, now the love of Ja'far is entering his heart. And this is filling his heart to such a degree, he's now distancing himself from Malik. So he stopped visiting Malik. لمشرب قلبي من حب جعفر, because the love of Ja'far had satiated my heart. You see that there's a degree of intense pain within. Realizes the reality of the Imam, is asking the Prophet to make the Imam open up towards Unwan, and he realizes that when it comes to knowledge, you can't receive knowledge from two sources. It has to be from one source, the most learned source. Once you mix up two sources of knowledge, the most learned and the less learned, is going to contaminate you. It's like, for example, a cancer patient or a diabetes patient. They take instructions from two doctors who vary in their superiority in knowledge. And then on one said, فَمَا خَرَجْتُ مِنْ دَارِي إِلَّا إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ الْمَكْتُوبَةِ حَتَّى إِلَى صَبْرِي. He said, I wouldn't exit the house anymore, save for the wajib prayers in Jama'ah, for example. Otherwise, I wouldn't exit the house. This is because of that inner pain of being denied access to the superior source of knowledge of the time. He never left his house except for the congregational prayers, the wajib prayers, until he no longer could tolerate it and was no longer patient. He lost his patience. The intense pain was so much for so long, he couldn't tolerate this anymore. فَلَمَّا ضَاغَ صَدْرِي, Unwan says that when my chest became so constricted and tight, تَنَعَلْتُ, I wore my slippers, وَتَرَدَّيْتُ, I wore my cloak, وَقَصَدْتُ جَعْفَرًا, I intended to see Ja'far again, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. وَكَانَ بَعْدَ مَا صَلَّيْتُ الْعَصْرَ, and this happened after I finished my Asr prayer in congregation. After that, I went to see Imam Sadiq. So he knocked on the door and someone answered and he said, what do you want? Unwan said, I want to see the Imam. And he said, just wait here. Then he was brought in. Then he faced the Imam again. Imam said, what's your name? What's your title? He said, Abu Abdullah. Unwan's title was, for example, he had a child called Abdullah. And then Imam Sadiq said, ثَبَّتَ اللَّهُ كُنْيَتَكَ وَوَفَّقَكَ Abdullah. ما مسألتك. He said, may Allah for you and may Allah grant you success, O Abu Abdullah. And then he said, what's your question? What do you want? Then فَقُلْتُ فِي نَفْسِي, Then Unwan said, I said to myself, I said, لو لم يكن لي من زيارته والتسليم غير هذا الدعاء لكان كثيرا. That if I receive nothing from this assembly with you, but he was saying this in his heart, if I receive nothing in this assembly with you, save the dua that you made, that my name be established, and the salam that you gave to me, if I receive nothing else from this assembly, that is more than enough. That is abundant. And this is the main point here. The Unwan Basri, who starting that now you've come to Medina, I want to in the way I'm benefiting from Malik. Look at the limited understanding and acknowledgement of who the Imam is. He started with that kind of mentality. The Imam gave a negative answer. With this negative answer, most people will never make the return to the Imam again. Most people would then go to the next best thing, which would be nothing compared to the Imam. But for those who have an inner readiness, have some degree of potential, by giving a negative answer to them, it would act as a start of spiritual proximity to Allah. It's as if their heart realizes they've been denied access to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here he started with saying Imam Sadiq on a par, and looked at Imam Sadiq and Imam Sadiq's knowledge on a par with Malik. But at the end he said, if you give me nothing, your mere salam in relation to me, that would be enough. He said this inside himself. And here the Imam realized that this is a different unwan. And then the Imam started with giving a protocol. And inshallah, the protocol will continue with in the next session. Apparently, we've decided to only speak for half an hour, and the rest Q&As on different issues. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.